Blackmagic Design released a new version of Resolve 17 this week, and this is a second video going over the new features that were added. First video was a bit over 20 minutes long, so I wanted to break it up so it wouldn't be all in one video. So this video will go over some other new features that were added to the Edit, Fusion, Color, and Fairlight tabs. On the Edit page, they've also added a feature from the Cut page called Fast Review. And this is basically a function where if you have clips of different lengths, it'll vary the speed depending on the length of the clip. So it'll slow down on shorter clips, and on the longer clips, it'll speed up to get through it quicker. So it'll get through it about in the same amount of time. So here I have two different length clips here. So if I go up to playback, come down right here, Fast Review, it'll fast forward at a certain speed and then pick up speed a lot on the longer clip. And this allows you to basically review through your, if you have a series of clips of differing lengths, to allow you to get a good idea of what each clip is. Again, that's a feature from the Cut page. You may find it useful, you may not, but it is nice that it's now available also on the Edit page, so that there's a little more in common between the two pages, so you could use that on either one. Another new feature they've added in the Edit page in Resolve 17 is the addition of a fast forward speed indicator. It'll be located right next to the loop button here. So if I hit L once, it'll play normal speed. And if I hit again, you'll see now it's at 2x and 4, 8, 16, 32, all the way up to 64. And you just hit K to stop like normal. And the same thing with backwards. Hit J once to go backwards, normal speed. And then go 2x, 4x, 8x, 16, 32, and 64. And then it'll go back to normal speed. But that's a nice addition, so you know how fast you're fast forwarding. It'll make it easy to preview through a long timeline if you just want to skip ahead really quickly. So that was a nice addition. Okay, also on the Edit page, they've added the ability that if you have a clip that you have a lot of effects on, so if we check this first clip here, go to Effects, I have both a box blur and a glow on it. And if I go to Video, I've also have a zoom that zooms in halfway and then zooms back out again the other half. And if that's kind of slowing down your machine and it's not playing at the full frame rate, they've added the ability to right click on the clip and come up and click on Render in Place. And this will create basically a proxy file that will render out all the effects. And you click right here, include video effects. Click and you can change the format, codec, and the type. Right now it's just set to 720p. If you click on Render, then you want to choose a place where you want to store it. So I have a folder here I just named Render in Place for this example. Click Select Folder, and it's going to make that media. It's going to render it. And it goes fairly quick. I have a decently quick laptop, and it's going around 12 frames per second for about a 15-second clip, so it's going to take probably 30-40 seconds to render out the file. So you just let that continue. I'll fast forward to the end. Okay, now it's finished. So it's the same clip with the same effects applied. But if you come over here, you'll see that there's nothing here. There are no effects because it basically rendered it out. So now it should play back much quicker if you're having any kind of issue. Then you can also create proxy files, especially with the new way they have it in Resolve 17. If you want to do that with all your different clips. But if you just have one or two clips that are kind of slowing down your project, you use this Render in Place. And then if you want to go back to your original clip, you can right click on the clip and come up here to decompose to original. And that switches it back. And if you come back over here, see that I have my zoom keyframed here. And I also have the box blur and the glow if I want to adjust them or just make any kind of tweaks. So that's Render in Place, which is, again, a quick way to speed up any effects you have on a single clip or a few small clips, and you don't want to use proxies. Another addition, which is available both from the Edit page and the Color page and the Cut page, is the ability to set the sort order of your timeline drop-down here. So right now, it's set to frequently used or most recent. And before you couldn't change this, it would just be what it was. But now you could go into your preferences. So click on DaVinci Resolve, menu, and go to Preferences. And under User UI Settings, the bottom here it says timeline sort order. So you can see right now it's recently used. And you can do it to alphabetic or sort creation date. So if I set it to alphabetic, click save, now it'll do it. And it'll always stay that way. So if we go to 2, it'll still be in that order. And then I can also set it by creation date. Or I could go back to the way it was. Preferences, go back to recently used, click save. And then you can see now it's at 2, 1, 3, because 2 is the most recent. If I switch to 3, it'll be 3, 2, 1. If I switch to 1, it'll be 1, 3, 2. So that's a nice addition. If that matters to you, especially if you're constantly using multiple timelines, it might be nice to sort it in the way that's most useful to you. So that was a nice addition in Resolve 17. Another new change in Resolve 17 is the ability to zoom to where your mouse cursor is. Normally when you do zoom, it just does it on its own here. You really can't control it, and you can use the Alt key and your mouse's scroll wheel, but as you can tell here, it doesn't go where the mouse is. It just kind of zooms to where the playhead is as the center point, and then zooms in and out. But they did add the ability to scroll to where your mouse pointer is. So you have to come up to the View menu, and you come down to where you see the Zoom menu items here, and you have Zoom around mouse pointer. So you click on that and enable it. Now if I hold down the Alt key and scroll with my mouse, you'll see it's scrolling to where my mouse pointer is instead of to the playhead. So that's been requested over the years, and that's a nice addition. And if you just want to disable that again, just come back up to View and uncheck Zoom around with mouse pointer, and I'll go back to zooming around the playhead. So that was a nice addition. I'm glad they added that to the newest version of Resolve. And that'll come in handy when you have long timelines and you just want to kind of see real quickly what's near your pointer instead of having to move your playhead to where you want to zoom into. One of the changes they've made on the Fairlight tab is the ability to just right click on a clip and choose reverse clip to reverse it instead of having to do it from the edit page. So you just click on reverse clip and it's reversed. And if you right click again, you just uncheck it and it'll go back to normal. That's a quick way if you just need to quickly reverse a clip, and you can do it right from the Fairlight page now. Another nice addition to the Fairlight tab in Resolve 17 is the ability, you already have the viewer up here, and you can already undock it and have it as a floating window, and you can kind of resize it. Come here. I can resize it. But if I wanted to make it full screen, in previous versions I couldn't do that. You can only do full screen from the cut, edit, or color page. But now you can also do that in Fairlight. And you just have to hit the Control F key, which is basically the same key combo as in the other tabs. I do that, and I'll get full screen, and I can play through. If I just need to see the video full screen, and then just hit Control F again to go back just to the little viewer here. And again, you can undock it and make it a floating window. But that is nice that they've made that available in the Fairlight page, because that was very useful in the other pages like the color, edit, and cut. New addition to the Fairlight tab is the ability to have individual zoom levels for each of your timelines. So whatever you set the zoom up for one timeline won't affect the others. So here I have this zoomed to where you really can't even see the waveform. But if I switch to timeline 1, have that set so it's zoomed out more, or zoomed in more, so you can see more of the timeline and more zoomed in version. And then on timeline 3, I have a different level set up here. So, and if you make any changes to any of them, it won't affect the other two or whatever the other ones you have set up. So that's a nice addition. It just makes it a little easier to deal with the interface, to not have to go switch between timelines and have to be changing the zoom each time. You can set up the way you want, and they'll stay that way throughout your project. Okay, they've also made some changes to the scopes on the color page. So you come over here, and if you undock it, you have the ability to do what you could before. You could do a side-by-side or a 2x2, but now they also have a 3x3 grid. And you can have identical scopes, but with different settings. So here I can click on change vector scope. Or I go with one of these other white, one of these parade, and change it to colorize, or just different settings. So I can have the same scope, but with different settings. So that's very helpful, especially if you have a second screen or if you have a high resolution screen, then this should be very helpful. Or you can just go back to the one and like normal, you close it back down and just have it over here instead of in a floating window. But that should be a very nice addition to have the ability to have up to a 3x3 grid and have similar scopes or the same scopes but just different parameters. So one of the changes they made in the color page is they made some changes to the power windows and power curve. So if you click on a power curve and add that, and you start making your points, it used to be if you wanted to change one of your previous points, you couldn't until it was finished, and then you can manipulate them. But now you could just go over back to another previous point, and you can move it around. And you can also middle click on one and delete it, and then continue with points. And again, you could go back and reposition one of your previous points, and then when you're done, just finish off the polygon here, and then you can move that around. So that's a nice improvement, so you don't have to always finish before you can manipulate your points. One new change they made in Resolve 17 affects both the edit page and the Fusion page, and that is if you have a timeline but it's blank, you have nothing on it. If you go to Fusion, in previous versions you couldn't add anything here until you added a Fusion composition. Now right from the Fusion tab with a blank timeline, you can drag a node down to your node editor, and it'll automatically create your media out, and it basically creates a new Fusion composition. So if you go back to the edit page, you now have a Fusion comp here in your timeline. So that just makes it a little bit quicker if you want to do it right from the Fusion tab and not have to create the Fusion comp to begin with on the edit page. You could do it right from the Fusion page and drag any of your nodes you want and start the new composition. So that's just a nice way to quickly create a Fusion comp without having to start it on the edit page. Another change they made is to the Fusion tab. So by default in previous versions of Resolve, you'd always have your node editor on the bottom here, and you'd have your viewers on the top with the toolbar in the middle, and then you can have your inspector enabled or disabled, but that would take up the side here. But now they have a new way to go to Workspace, and you have different layout presets for your Fusion presets, and default is default, but now you can also have a left flow and a mid flow. So if you click left flow, that now moves it so that the editor, your node editors are on the left side, and your viewers are on the right here, with the toolbar on top. And if you're going to use it this way, you probably want to come here and go to Options and choose Build Flow Vertically. So that way, as you add things, if I added text node, everything, it's going to be more vertically situated by default instead of the normal horizontal layout you have. And then if you want to switch it back to the way it was, again, you go to Options and Build Flow Horizontally, so you can see that the node, the inputs here changed from the left side instead of on the top. Again, I'll show you that again. If you go to Options and go to Vertically, you'll see that the inputs are now on top, so it'll go top to bottom. So again, Options, Horizontally, and then go to Workspace, go to Layout Presets, Fusion Presets, and click on Default, and then I'll switch it back to the default, and then you can just rearrange your window here and zoom in and get it back so you have the horizontal layout. That's a nice addition to give you a little more customization of your Fusion page here to be more customized to the way you want to work. They've added a new feature to the Deliver tab, which is it'll give you a warning if you go to render a project, a timeline, and you have any media offline. It'll give you a warning that says, are you sure you'd like to add this job to the render queue with media offline clips or frames? So this will give you the ability to go back and look over your timeline and see if you can relink any clips that might be offline. So it's a nice way to just not waste your time trying to render something out for maybe 20 or 30 minutes and find out that there was an error because of offline clips. It has a nice addition to the Deliver tab so that you won't waste time with a mistake like that. That were some of the new features to Resolve 17. It's a beta, so they might be changing some of the features in the future, and if they do, I'll be going over any of the changes, and I'll also be going more in depth to the different tools they've added and the different changes they made, so I'll be releasing multiple videos over the next week or two on Resolve 17. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I thank you for watching.